Now, after we're done calculating cash flows and getting something like NPV, we do some type of analyses. One of them is called the sensitivity analysis. As you know, there are many inputs in a project. If you change only one of those, keeping everyone else the same, and figure out what's the effect, it's called sensitivity analysis. The other kind of analysis we do is scenario analysis, because in many cases, the changes are correlated. You know, in an environment where you sell more product, in terms of units, it's likely that you may be able to charge more. So what you do in scenario analysis, you create reasonable intervals for inputs and use the positive ones for best case and negative ones for worst case. If a project is profitable, even in worst case, you know, you have a lot more confidence in that project. Example, you can think of unit sales between 100 and 110, price between 125, 130, cost between 75, 80, etc. So in the best case scenario, you sell 110 units at 130 a piece. That costs 0.75, because the lower cost is a positive thing, right? Worst case, you sell 100 units at 125 and it costs 80 cents. The middle of those ranges are used for the base case. So 105 units at 1.275, costing 77 and a half, 0.77 and a half. The situation that exists when the units within a business are allotted a fixed amount of money for capital budgeting is called as hard rationing. Even though we won't do any numerical analysis of these, a lot of projects have built-in options. As you know, a lot of the inputs are projections. We estimate that we're going to sell 100 units, but a year into the project, you realize that that 100 was too optimistic. You only sold 80. At that point, you have an option to abandon the project. You can say, is it better if I continue with the project or simply scrap it up? Obviously, scrapping is going to cost you some money, and you make a decision. That would be an option to abandon. Or you got into the first year, you realize that sales are a lot better than you thought they would be. You have an option to expand the project. Again, that expansion may involve some cost, and you make a decision based on that. Firm has to expand into related business. That's called strategic option. You can read those things, so I'm not gonna go too much into that. U.S. depreciation system that allows for rapid depreciation under various classifications is called the rapid recovery period. No, we call it modified accelerated cost recovery system, makers. Cash flows of a new project that result from reduction in the cash flows of the firm's existing projects are called an opportunity cost. True or false? Why do you think it's false? Yes. And what is that thing then? The cash flows of a new project that result from the reduction of in the cash flows from an existing projects are called hmm? Cannibalism or side effects. No, kind of yes. Those options are contingent things. They're contingent on certain things happening. No, it's just the change in the firm's future cash flows that result from adding a new project are referred to as incremental cash flows, not residual. The assumption that a project will be evaluated based on its incremental cash flows is referred to as standalone principle. Okay? Cannibalism is another name for erosion. Again, these are stuff you guys can read. That's why I'm not spending too much time on them, so that I can spend time on these things. Remember, these things are at home, so you have no excuse not to read the chapter, at least at that time. And there's no time limit either. Okay. They're considering remodeling plans for an old building the firm owns and wants to restore. The building was purchased last year at 80,000, 890,000. Plan is to create an executive resort and conference center at an estimated cost of 3.6 million. Estimated PV of future income from the center is 5.9. Of course, firm could take the cash offer of 1.1 million it just received for the building. Which one of the following values represents the opportunity cost of remodeling the project? What do you guys think? Now, remember, opportunity cost is what would you do if you didn't do this project? 1.1 million, because the building is already belonging to the firm. If they don't take the project, they could simply sell it for 1.1 million. So that's the cost of the opportunity. You're thinking about the opportunity in its literal sense, but opportunity cost of is value of the second best alternative. If you didn't use it for the project, what would you get? And that's 1.1. The amount by which a firm's tax bill is reduced as a result of depreciation expense is referred to as depreciation. Depreciation what? Tax shield. And that's the definition of it. It's called depreciation tax shield. Which one of the following managerial options is most apt to be implemented if a project was recently started failing to produce expected level of sales? So if it's not doing as well as you thought it would, what kind of option do you have? Somebody else, please. I like talking to you, but not that much. Well, in the fall semester, if things don't change, I have this same class at the same time period. I have only 6 students. Nobody's going to be able to hide. Anyone? Okay, Sublet. Yeah. And whether or not it's best, we don't know, but you have an option to abandon it. Because at that point, you're going to make two calculations. What's the NPV that I can get given this reduced level of sales versus what's the NPV I can get if I simply get out of it? We actually look at that sort of stuff in graduate level of finance. Probably not here on the MBA program, but in an MSF program, we would look at it. A debt-free firm has net income of, let me copy this. We have their net income, their taxes, and their depreciation. What's the operating cash flow? Since it's debt-free, uh, net income plus depreciation plus interest expense. But since they're debt-free, that would be 71,600 plus 6,800. Why is it not there? Oh, thank you. $78.40. Come on. Here's an example of a scenario analysis. Let me copy this by taking a picture because it doesn't copy those pictures itself. I don't know why.